Welcome to this Maths Heroes video. My name's Christine. A young Year 6 student came to me this week and said, we did this in daily review and I don't know how to do it. And he literally drew a multiply sign and an add sign with a line and he did not have a clue. I said, okay, let's take a step back. So I finally worked out from him that this meant something like 32 multiplied by 45 or something like that. I said to him, we're going to do something a little bit simpler to start with. We will do 13 multiplied by 12. And then we will build up to your 32 by 45. So I put my multiplicative thinking block down. I said, what have we got? 10 tens. And 10 tens are 100. And how much have I now got? Well, I've got 13 tens, he said. Took him a moment. He said 13 tens. I said, and how much is that? He said 130 because he could see the 100 and he could see the 30. I said, well, that's 13 tens, but we actually need 12. We need 12 groups of 13. So across the top here, I've got 13. This way, I've got 10. So I needed another 2. So we put this down to get an extra 2 layers. So this is now 12 and this is 13. And I said to him, how big is this piece? And at first he said 2 by 2. And I said, have another go. And he said, oh, okay, I can see that it's meant to be 3 by 2 or 2 by 3. Great. And from that, he could see that it was 156. I said, we're going to draw that in a minute, but first we're going to have a look at how that actually works. And we related it back to each of the pieces. So the first thing we did was we said, okay, we're going to multiply 2 and 3. That was that first piece that I had with the 6. Now I've got 2, but this 1 is not actually a 1, it's a 10. So 2 by 10, 2 multiplied by 10, is the 20 piece that I had across the bottom. I put my post-it note back. If you do this on a board, it's a post-it note. I said, this is not a 1, but how much actually is it? It's actually a 10. So first I had 10 multiplied by 3, which was this piece that I had here. So there's my 10 threes or my 3 tens, so I can turn it over. There's 10 threes, put the right way. 10 threes, 3 tens. And the last one was, this is a 10 multiplied by that 10 up there. So hiding underneath those post-it notes give me that place value. And that gave me that last piece. So when we went to draw it, he could see that what I had was this. And I actually manoeuvred the pieces around so that we had the 12 vertically, the two to make the 12 vertically. So I also did it this way to show him that they were exactly the same sized pieces. Let me move that up a little bit. There we go. And you can actually see it. Beautiful. So it didn't matter which way I did it, but either way I had 10 plus 3, 10 plus 2, and what I worked out was that this would be 10 tens, which was 100. This was going to be 3 tens or 10 threes, which was 30. This piece was 2 tens or 10 twos, which was 20. And this last piece was my 2 by 3 or 3 by 2, which gave me 6. So each of those pieces is matched in the diagram that I've got here. There's my 100, there's my 30, there's my 20, and there's my 6. It doesn't matter which way I arrange the pieces, it still works out to be the same area. So he was happy with that, and we went away and we did 32 multiplied by 45. I did all sorts of other ones. He even did one that looked, I think he had 55 multiplied by 54 at one point. We were rolling dice, there's some dice to see, and he had this picture. So he had 50 plus 5 and 50 plus 4. And he straight away, he went to the ones that he knew. So he put the 20 in here, he put 250 in here, and he put 200 in here. Then he got to this point of having to do 50 multiplied by 50. Down the 0, because he was multiplying by 0, he got that. And then he said 5 times 0 is 0, and he actually did, he did 5 times 5 is 20. He mucked that one up. But so he got to 200, and I said, does that feel right, knowing that 5 times multiplied by 50 was 250? So he put down the first 0 for the zeros, and then he just went 5 times, and 5, which should have been 25, he would have got 250, he got 200. I said, we need to start thinking about what you're actually doing, because this is no good if he doesn't understand what he's doing. So I said, okay, let's write 50 multiplied by 50, and we can rewrite that like that. Now, the beautiful thing about mathematics is when you multiply, there's this thing called the associative law that says it doesn't matter which order you multiply in. So I can actually put the 2 5s next to each other, and I can put, let's go, nice pink colour, the 2 10s next to each other. So I can move both of them. That becomes much easier to see that that's going to be 25 multiplied by 100, which is 2,500, 2,500. He was quite astonished that, we could do this, because he was drilled that he had to do this vertical multiplication. And I said, well, perhaps there's another way. He also came with, we were rolling 10-sided dice in the end, not just the 6-sided one. And he had something like that. It was 96 or something like that. And he had worked out how to do it, and he had worked out 90 and 6 and 30 plus 2. So he had done that one. So I'll just put this one in here. 6 3s 18, 180 and 12. So he had worked out that was, and I said to him, there's plenty of room to write, so you can write next to it if you want to. 180 plus 180 is 360, and then I've still got a 12. So he was happy to do that. I said, let's try a different way. I said, what's 96 close to? So we drew a picture. I said, we have 32, so we put the 32 down. And I said, across the top, you've got the 100, right? But actually, you've got to chop 4 bits off to make 96. And he was okay with that. I said, okay, so 30 multiplied by 100, 3,000. 2 multiplied by 100 was 200. We've got to take away 120, because 4 multiplied by 30 is 120, and I've also got to take away another 8. So I've actually got, if I look at it, I've got 3,200, take away 128. And I didn't make him do a subtraction. I said, we're going to do that on a number line. So I drew a number line, and we were at 3,200. Said, first of all, we're going to do a great big hop. We're going to take away 100. He was happy with that. I said, okay, can you take away the rest? So he took away 20 to get to 3,080, and then he took away the 8 to get to 3,072. That was far more powerful. He even checked it on a calculator. But the combination of do with the draw solidified for him. And he actually said, I don't think I'm going to get it from one go. And I said, no, you're not. So let's be kind to ourselves. The first repetition is always the hardest. But with repetitions, you'll be able to see what's happening and it will make sense. And by the time we'd done 3 or 4, he was really happy. And the feedback I got from his mum afterwards, she sent me a text message and she said he was so happy afterwards that it was amazing. So I know everybody is a maths hero. Your students are maths heroes. You are a maths hero. Everybody is. I hope this video was helpful to you. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.